Guess what happened? License plates. Hey guys, so I'm on my way to the MTO. I got my ownership insurance, which was actually really easy. I just talked to my insurance broker and I said, I bought a van, the GMC Savana, which is what it says on the ownership. It's GMC Savana. And I said, I'm just using it to haul my boats around, my canoes and kayaks down to the water. The question is, how do I change the ownership into my name? Because it's plated as a commercial vehicle right now. For personal use, under 6,500 kilograms or 14,000 pounds, you don't need a commercial certificate. And that's the idea, is to not have to commercially register this truck. What do I need to do to get this in my name and get license plates on it? So we're gonna pull into the MTO in a few minutes. I'll let you know how it goes.
Later.
So I went and she said, yeah, we can turn it into your name, no problem, blah, blah, blah. But it's a 2004, which means it's 20 years old, which means you need an appraisal.
12 seconds later.
Luckily, I have a friend who's a mechanic and he made me an appraisal and I'm all good. And I got pulled over on the way doing 32 over, kilometers over, and got a warning instead of a ticket. So green light? I don't know. Back to the other town now to go back to the MTO with my appraisal. Fingers crossed. Guess what happened? License plates. Okay, Charlie's got legitimate license plates on him. Somehow, some way. Oh, it's windy out here. But he's got kind of a belt squeak. Oh man, it's so windy, I'm sorry. Here's a little belt squeak. Definitely need new wiper blades because these things are just trash. We're gonna go see Jeff. He's my mechanic. He does all the work on my Silverado. And we need a safety for this. So the way it works in Ontario is you can get a 10-day temporary permit. They give you a real license plate with a little T sticker on it, which we didn't put on, because you don't want to be stuck with that sticker forever. So we didn't put it on. We've got those license plates on the truck now, and we're gonna go see Jeff. We need a safety. We have 10 days to do that. And then you take that safety back to the government office that gave you the license plates, and you say, hey, I've got a safety now, and they update your file, and then your license plates are permanent. Anyway, we need a safety check. So who safeties a cube truck? Hopefully Jeff does. The only known issue I have is this wheel wobble right at about 40 miles an hour. It goes away at 50 miles an hour and it's gone after that. So I'm hoping it's a balancer on one of the front wheels. Maybe it's a tire, I don't know. And we have a check engine light. So the check engine light could be anything. I know that I think it's the front right wheel. The ABS is really squirrely. Go Charlie, up the hill. 6-liter power. Anyway, if the wheel speed sensor on the front right tire is wonky, it triggers the ABS at very low speeds, just on the front right corner. I noticed that when I was bringing the truck home. So I'm hoping that's the reason for the check engine light. I'm sure there's more than that that's wrong with this truck. Hey guys, it's pouring rain. I want to take you through the safety though. So Jeff had a look at the truck, and here's what we got. Tires. It needed 2 front tires. That was just over $400 for both installed. Tire install, 60 bucks. Wheel bearing. So the ABS triggering and like right when you were about to stop and making the van pull was actually a whole wheel bearing, which was a $350. This is all Canadian money. $350 wheel bearing. The drive belt, so that squeak, it's a $100 belt. Idler pulley was $65. Drive belt tensioner was $106. Labor, 3.5 hours, so $323. Safety inspection was $100 bucks. Blah 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 blah. $1,848 worth of work. The wheel bearing, the idler, and the 2 front tires. 1,800 Canadian. So what's that in American? Like probably 1,400 or 1,500. So 6,500 for the truck, 1,800 for the safety. And now we're on the road with legal plates, legal insurance, legal everything. Okay, I've been to the coffee store. I've been to the windshield wiper store. We got shiny new wipers. And I've been to the stereo store. We got a single DIN, speaker adapters, speakers, and the same head unit that Truckee has and that the sailboat has. So I think we're in good shape. We got lots of work to do today though. Let's do it. You may question the need for a stereo in a box truck, and so do I. But I figure I'm going to be driving for like 16 hours a day like I did on the boat. So I want to do it with some music, and I want to do it with Spotify so I'm not listening to commercials all the time. And I want to do it with some sort of reasonable sound quality. So those speakers I'm installing, it only has one set of speakers in the truck, and they're in the doors, and they're not, one set of speakers isn't going to be great. They're 6.5. I'll show you what the Silverado has. So there are 10-inch subs behind the seats in this big box. They're 1600 watts or 800 RMS, and it pounds. It's really good. It's a great stereo. I quite like it. So I'm probably going to do the same thing in the truck, maybe not 1600 watts or 800 RMS, maybe something a little more subtle because it's a box truck, but it has the same amount of room behind the seats, so might as well have some bass, right? So I'm not sure why the stereo shop sold me these spacers that the speaker can sit in, but when you try to use one of these spacers, it's too shallow and the speaker magnet hits the window when the window is rolled down. But the speaker screws directly into the existing spacers on the door, so these are stupid and I don't need them. All we really have to do is adapt the new speakers to the wiring in the truck, which really isn't all that difficult. There's red and black coming off the old speaker and red and black on the new speaker. So all we're going to do is cut this wire off the old speaker, put female spade connectors on, and plug them into the new speaker. Pretty straightforward process. Okay, now we got to do the head unit, which is admittedly a little bit harder than the door speakers, but this is the same one that's in my truck, so I know it and I'm used to it. And the first thing we're going to have to do is connect the wiring adapter, which we should have. Yes, is connect the Kenwood wiring harness to the GM wiring adapter with heat shrink connectors, because we're boat people and this is what we use. Let's do it. One of the things that we like to do before we hook up a stereo is figure out which wire's accessory and which wire is constant power. Okay, keys on, stereo should be on. We got a voltmeter. Black is ground. And it's red or yellow, really. You know, I never really get to talk to you guys about why I'm doing all this. And I think like doing it on the boat, which we did all the same stuff with the solar panels and everything, but the boat, I think what you don't realize is how victim you are to the weather. Tidal currents and hurricanes and storms, and there's a gale coming at 2 o'clock, and it's really stressful living on a boat. It's a lot, and I didn't know that beforehand. And yeah, I'm still gonna do it again. It's still like my calling, the sea. But you don't realize how stressful it's gonna be. And I was thinking when I was on the boat, I was like, man, we should have just like built a van or a school bus or something, because if there's a big storm or something, it's okay. You know, and if there's a really big storm and you're actually worried about it, you go park behind a building or something. Like, you're not that far from medical help, you're not that off the beaten path, there's Walmart whenever you want. Like, you live on a boat and you want to go to like Ace Hardware to fill the propane tank. That's a whole thing. You got to get internet first to figure out where an Ace Hardware is, sail the boat to that location, put the propane tank in the dinghy, drive the dinghy to the dock, and then walk with your heavy propane tank, which they don't seem that heavy, but after you walk like 3 miles with one, they're kind of heavy. To get it filled, and then it's even heavier after you fill it, and you got to walk back to the boat, put it back in the dinghy, and all this stuff. So I mean, it could be like a week-long endeavor just to get propane when you're on the boat, because the locations that have propane down in the islands are kind of few and far between. So you're like, we need propane by next Wednesday, and then you start mapping out like how you're going to be able to accomplish that. And in a truck or a schoolie or a van or something, it's really not that hard. Especially in the US, you just drive to Ace Hardware and you fill your propane tank. So, I don't know. I always wanted to do the van thing. I think it would be a lot less stressful than the boat thing. And I like the idea of building the van because I get to do it exactly how I want. In the boat, you don't get to do it exactly how you want because the boat's a boat. It just is what it is. So, yeah. Anyway, like 100 more of these to do. While I whittle away at this project, it occurs to me that I haven't decided how real we're going to be in this channel. So I'm going to record this, and I don't know, I have something on my mind, and I don't know if I was ever going to make it into a video, but we had somebody die today. It's like 8 wires left. So I quit drinking like almost a year ago, and I needed help, I'm not going to lie. I had to get help to do that. And the group of people that helped me has become like my family. And I see them many times a week, get to know them. I genuinely care for most of them deeply. And one of the ladies, you know, she came in behind me, and she was okay for a while, but I heard today that she died. And what I heard was that she had gone back out and was drinking. So, I don't know, man. It makes me realize that standing in my garage doing stuff like this, working on a project to go on this adventure, another adventure, is probably the right thing to be doing, because we don't know how long we've got, right? We don't know what's going to happen, and it's really sad. It makes me hyper aware of sort of, you know, mortality. Anyway, sorry, sad thoughts. Still cracking. Okay, the next thing we got to deal with is the mounting bracket that's going to fit in there to hold the stereo, because these stereos are obviously a little skinnier than the factory stereo was. The wire we had to tap into to trigger the stereo to turn on. Car stereos need negative, constant positive, and then an accessory or ignition wire to trigger the stereo to know that the key's in the on position, and thus the stereo turns on. We tapped into the wire that goes to this airbag switch for the passenger side airbag. There's a pink wire that goes here that provides 12 volt only when the key's on, probably to turn this light on. That's a perfectly good trigger to tell the stereo to turn on, and then the stereo draws most of its power through the constant 12 volt anyway. So pink wire attached to that. You can use a voltmeter on the plug on the back of this to make sure, and that will turn the stereo on. Okay, and I gotta tell you the story about how I bought this truck. When I decided to go sailing on my boat and take off to the Caribbean, everything just sort of lined up. A boat came up for sale that happened to be exactly the right shape, size, weight, everything, for the right price, in the right location. I'm a firm believer that when you commit yourself to something 110% and you will do anything to accomplish that mission, the universe gets behind you and lines things up for you. I don't know how else to explain that, but I utterly believe it. So when I decided to do this box truck thing, my friend Kim had posted a picture. She's out doing that sort of van life thing, and she posted a picture in Arizona, and I was like, oh my God, I have to do this. But anyway, I started looking at box trucks, and I messaged a whole bunch of them. There's none local to me. They're all like at least, 3-4 hours away in Toronto or something. And this one was in London, an hour away. And I messaged the lady, and I said, hey, they wanted 7,500 Canadian. And I messaged and I said, hey, I'll give you $6,000. And she was like, no, the company's not going to let it go for that. So I waited like 2 weeks, messaged her again. I was like, $6,000. She's like, no, still no. A couple more weeks later, I'm like, truck's still for sale. I'll do 6,500. And she's like, okay, come and see it. And I was like, cool. So it didn't seem like there would be a lot of bartering available with her. 6,500 is 4,800 US. So I went to see the truck. So my son and I drove to London in my truck, and we pulled up to this truck, and I'm thinking, like, who knows, like, how bad it's going to be, if the interior is going to be like used as a work truck, all just terrible on the inside. And it's not. It's really nice in here. But the guy selling it is outside, and he's a younger guy. And I went up and I was like, I'm Tim. I shook his hand, and he's like, has the key in his hand, and I wanted to take control of the situation right away. So I was like, can I have the key? And he's like, yeah, because I wanted to check the oil and transmission fluid before he started the truck. I wanted it to be cold and dark when I got to the truck to look it over. So I took the key from him, and then he's like, I'll be inside, just bang on the door. We're in the middle of filming. And I was like, filming? What do you mean filming? And he's like, oh, I'm a YouTuber. You're a what? Because I'm a YouTuber. So we talked for a bit, compared channels and all that kind of stuff. He films cars, and they had like a whole set inside the building. It was really, really cool stuff. I wish I would have brought the GoPro to show you guys, but I wasn't really thinking that far ahead. I didn't know there'd be a YouTube channel. Anyway, he's a YouTuber. I was like, look, I brought more money with me, but I was like, look, I only brought 6,500. And he's like, dude, you can have it for 6,500. The lady you were talking to is my mom, and she's like, money, pinching pennies, but I don't care. I haven't used the truck in a couple months. We used to use it for deliveries. We don't anymore. So 6,500 is totally cool with me. What? I just bought a cube truck with 123 miles on the clock for 6,500 Canadian or 4,800 US. That's insane.